My name is Jared Holcomb. I am currently the Director of Quality Control at Hollister-Stier Laboratories, which is a pharmaceutical company located in Spokane, Washington. I went to 7 different elementary schools in the Spokane area, so it was a little bit of a tumultuous childhood. I went to middle school at Glover Middle School, and I graduated high school from North Central. And I was one of the first classes to go through the new school, which is no longer new, 1988. Going to a bunch of different elementary schools made me adaptable, having to learn to meet new friends and get to know people a little faster, I think, than the normal child would. But really, everything for me kind of culminated in high school. I didn't know what I was going to do in high school. Had an idea. We had a family business that my grandparents owned. Thought I might go into that. And then Randy James, who's a science teacher at North Central, kind of took me under his wing, asked me to take one of his advanced placement classes, which was biology at the time. And I took that. I did really well. I really liked it. Still didn't know what I was going to do. Randy said, hey, maybe you should go to college. I'll take you out to Eastern. He took me out there with a couple other people, met some professors, got pretty excited. Eastern was just starting in the biotech field, and that's where I ended up going to college. So formative years were really the last 2 years of high school. Randy James is a really special guy, and it's not like he and I are best friends and we've hung out at all, but he influenced my life more than any other person, and because he really gave me some direction that I didn't even know I needed, and he did it just because that's his personality. I've seen him on and off for the last 25 years in different settings, and I had the opportunity to bring a science class from North Central into my facility and have them tour. I had no idea he was even going to be there, and he showed up, and I met him at the door, and we got a chance to catch up a little bit. And I told him right then that he was super influential in my life, and he really made a difference. And I hope he knows he's affected a bunch of different people. So much energy. Guy is just loaded with energy. So I went to Eastern Washington University, started right out of high school, which was probably the best thing I could have done, is not go to college right off the bat, because if I hadn't gone to college that first year out, I probably wouldn't have gone. Obviously, I had an aptitude for science. I really enjoyed it. Still didn't know what I was going to do with it. There wasn't really a lot of opportunities in Spokane that I knew of. And so I took every class I could take. And I didn't declare a major until I was a senior, because I didn't know what I wanted to do. But I was lucky enough to, actually through Randy James, he introduced me to Dr. Lightfoot at Eastern, who was my advisor. And he pulled me under his wing and said, I think you should go into the biotech field. You've taken a ton of science classes, let's take the biotech labs. And so I did that and still kept on taking classes. I really enjoyed it. And at the end of it, I ended up with a biotech degree and a minor in physics. I have had, so far, a fairly dynamic career. When I graduated from college in 1993, still didn't know what I was going to do, had a degree, wasn't sure what to do with it, and was fortunate enough that my advisor in college, Dr. Lightfoot, was starting a business a few years after I graduated. He hired me on at a company called GenPrime as a contract scientist, and I worked with oil fields in the South and South America. My main job at that time was developing consortia of bacteria to inject into oil wells to enhance the recovery of the oil out of those fields. So I traveled to South America, Venezuela, got to see a lot of really interesting things there. When that job opportunity ended, I got hired full-time at GenPrime as one of their project scientists. At the time, they were developing fermentation technology to analyze the metabolism of yeast, so in the brewing industry or ethanol industry. While we were going forward with that, 9/11 happened, and then subsequently the anthrax was delivered in the mail to the news stations and the senators. So GenPrime took that news fairly hard, and we developed a technology to detect biological weapons and powders. So for the next few years, the people at Gen Prime and myself traveled the country talking about biological weapons and helping first responders deal with potential threats, which was an amazing experience. I met so many wonderful people. Firemen, people don't give enough credit. They're amazing. After traveling for a huge portion of my life, I decided I was done traveling. My family was still young and I needed to be at home, so stopped working at Gen Prime and got hired on at Hollister-Stier. I've been the director of quality control at Hollister-Stier for 3 years, and it's a fantastic job. I really enjoy it. Run the chemistry and microbiology labs, have 70 people that report to me, and our job is to make sure that the pharmaceuticals that are made in that facility are safe and efficacious for the end user. I think the main piece of advice I would have for students is ask questions. It seems a daunting task dealing with your life and what you're going to do with it, and I think a lot of kids are shy about asking what are the opportunities, what can I do, what do I need to do, and don't limit yourself because of what you think you can do. Think outside that box. And so yeah, my advice would be ask a lot of questions and listen to people that have kind of taken that path before, because there's a lot of advice out there. My son's best friend goes to North Central, so he just graduated. He was a senior this year. And so for the last 4 years, I've been in North Central more often than not, watching his sporting events and going to the doll shop at North Central, which is, if you haven't seen that, it's a wonderful production. So I've been to a bunch of plays there, and more than I thought I would be. But yeah, it's neat.